And now, for something a little different. It should really be obvious by now that I love beer. What may be less obvious by now is that I also love wine. And what I particularly love is when those two worlds intersect, when I can find a beverage that straddles the boundaries between the two. That's just one of the reasons I'm so excited to pick up this beer, Days of Creation. Yes, I'm excited because it's from Thornbridge, and Thornbridge, we already know, is a phenomenal brewery making beers such as Jaipur. Yes, I'm excited because it's got this whole religious, iconographic aesthetic going on, which for me, as an ordained minister, that's quite exciting. But what really excites me is just how much this beer has going on. Fans of Belgian beers will also be excited by this one. It is a blend of beer that's been aged for 1, 2, and 3 years in oak red burgundy barrels. It's been infused with raspberries and fermented not just with yeast, but also Brettanomyces, Pediococcus, and Lactobacillus. Let's see what's inside. I'm so sorry, Chica. We have to talk about this beer's colour. It almost looks like a red wine spritzer. It's got that sort of dark, ruddy, red-brown colouring going on. But also for a beer that's been aged with raspberries in the mix and with all these different bacteria, all that sort of sediment you'd expect from being aged in oak for so long, it's incredibly clear. It's not completely all the way see-through, but it's definitely more transparent than not. Going into this, we would expect some vinegar notes. We know that it's a sour red ale. But this is not the vinegar you would find down at the chip shop. This is a more refined, fruity experience. I'm picking up notes of raspberry clearly from what's in the mix, but also it's a sort of red wine vinegar, maybe a little hint of balsamic richness in the mix there as well. Dare I say it, it's just a touch cheesy. The palate is intriguing. Ooh, it's certainly tart. It's not as tart as some of the fruited sour beers that you come across occasionally, but there's definitely an element here of refined drinking vinegar. But in addition to that, I'm also picking up a whole load of really delicious fruity flavours. More of that raspberry, but also that red grape. We're picking up a little bit of like currant or raisin, that sort of slightly dried fruit characteristic coming through as well. But for all that fruit, we're not getting a whole lot of sweetness. It's still very dry, it's quite astringent, and that gives it that sensation of being very complex, very refined, which is something I'm quite appreciating. Is it pretentious? Absolutely. Do I care? The finish brings more of that sort of tartness, and that leaves the mouth watering a little bit. So you almost get this sort of fruity sweetness that's a counterbalance to the beer on the aftertaste. I'm picking up more black currant, oddly, here, some more dark fruits, more of that sort of dried currant sort of flavour through as well. And definitely, for a beer that's so dry and so tart, I find myself really drawn to it and coming back for more, which is an interesting sensation. I think this is a perfect beer for that person in your life who says they don't like beer, all beers taste the same. You stick them in front of this, even get them to take a sniff of it and ask them to stand by that statement then. For me, this is a 4 out of 5. And I say that with the caveat that normally when I say 4 out of 5, that means it's a beer I'm happy drinking all night. This is not a beer I would literally be happy drinking all night. It is extremely intense and definitely one bottle is enough, but it is a really enjoyable experience. It's something I find really interesting, and I'm really excited to hear what you think of it as you try this and as you feedback on it. What I want to know is, what do you think? What are your thoughts on this beer? Are you a big fan of Thornbridge? Have you tried this particular sour red ale? Are you a Belgian person who's affronted at this attempt, at this facsimile of a long and proud beer, lambic brewing tradition? However angry you feel in either direction, please let me know in the comments below. If you liked this review, please do check out the rest of the reviews on my channel, or go to brewreport.co.uk, where I post fresh beer content every week on Sunday. And until next time, happy drinking. Really? Exactly the same reaction as to every other beer. You shock me.